Well, we are live with Zach. Zach, thank you for being here. We met Zach at Ragbri, actually. He came by our tent, and we're just continuing our series of talking with different riders that we know and pulling out valuable pieces of their experience. Give us a little bit about your background there.
I have been pretty fortunate that I've gotten to take some longer distance rides. I've taken really three big ones. In 2017, I went down the East Coast of the United States from Maine to Miami. 2019, I did the West Coast, and it was a route called the Sierra Cascades that follows the mountains in Washington, Oregon, and California. And just last summer, I rode my bike across the country. I went from DC to Eugene, Oregon.
I think the obvious question there is you've gone across the U.S. three different ways. Some people think about, should I do a West Coast side, an East Coast side, move laterally across the United States?
I think it kind of depends on what type of rider you are. I found in general, the further west you are, the more you'll see a lot of like beautiful landscapes, and you'll stay in a lot of campgrounds. So if you're the kind of cyclist that likes to make your experience sort of like a backpacking experience where you're very much in nature and more isolated, I think the West Coast is great for that. And then my trips on the East Coast, I found there's usually a little bit more densely populated. But if you're the kind of cyclist that likes to travel and sort of like stop in small towns and like buy food from 7-Eleven, there's a lot more convenience, I think, on the East Coast. I think the TransAmerica Trail is sort of the best of both worlds because you do get both. Right? Like you get that density on the East Coast, and then you get the beautiful vistas in the West. And because so many people ride that trail, you kind of get a community feeling throughout it.
How did a history teacher decide, I'm going to ride across America, not once, not twice, but 3 times?
One of my closest friends a few years ago came up with the idea. I've got like 3 amazing best friends. And before the trip, I was skeptical. And we started it, and I absolutely fell in love. I think there's no better way to travel than on your bicycle. And it was funny, by the end of the trip, my friends were like, well, what should we do next? What should our next adventure be? And they were all talking about, taking trips elsewhere. And I was like, we have to do a bike tour. We have to do another bike tour. And I'm really the only one that has kind of continued taking bike tours.
How did commuting become a part of your life? Did you commute? Because you mentioned that you commute to work. It's a 12-mile commute, so a decent ride that you do 9 months out of the year. Did you start commuting before you took these tours?
I took that first trip when I had summers off as a teacher, so I had just taken on this job. But honestly, I work in the Bay Area of California, and I work 12 miles away from home, and it would take me 45 minutes to an hour to drive my car. And so I used to sit in traffic and then get stressed out, and I feel like I couldn't work out in the evening. And so I started biking, and it gave me my workout, and it allowed me to skip traffic, and I've been doing it ever since.
You did Ragbri here recently. Have you done any other organized races or Ragbri specifically before?
I haven't really done many organized races. I've heard about Ragbri for years. People talk about this event in Iowa like it's sort of mystical, like it has this special allure. And so I went out there for the first time this year, and I had an amazing experience. It was like this wonderful collision of all of my worlds. It was really nice people. It was challenging cycling. It was a lot of that tourist community. It was great. I've done a couple like organized triathlons, and I find when you try to talk to people on an organized triathlon, they sort of like grunt at you and they put their head down, and they will just sort of like push past you. Ragbri was a really cool experience because like people will find any reason to talk to you. I had someone come up to me and go like, oh, you chose bar end shifters for your bike, huh? And then we chatted for 45 minutes, and got to know each other. So it's a very social event, which was something I was looking for.
Talk to us about how you use the PedalCell both at Ragbri and a more organized trip on some of your own riding.
I bought the PedalCell at Ragbri. The moment I found you guys, I was like, I really wish I had this on my cross-country tour because power was always such a challenge. I'd have to stop in public parks with like a band gazebo and plug in for an hour or two in order to charge. I've been looking for something like this for years. And it was kind of funny. I chose a charter service for Ragbri. And they promised that they would have charging ports for us throughout the week. And they had a generator from the early 2000s that frankly didn't work. And so I was the only one in my charter service that had power all week because I would run my battery down in the evening and then I would plug it in the next day and I would pedal power it. One of the guys I was riding with asked me to charge his external battery while I was at Ragbri. And I was like, sure, that's easy, right? Because I just plugged it in. My goal now is to constantly be charging 2 external batteries. And I'm going to see if I can keep my phone fully charged by my bike.
That's awesome. Well, Zach, I think you're a really cool rider. I love the energy and excitement that you have about your perspective on things. So thank you for just sharing your experiences and I hope you get out on another long ride here again soon.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it. It was a cool opportunity.